Well, whether you are watching this video ahead of time to just stay informed or after receiving no acceptances into medical school, I promise that this video will give you motivation and help you decide on what to do next. Handling rejection is not easy at all, more so when you put an incredible amount of effort getting into one of the most prestigious forms of higher education. Nevertheless, I am going to try and help you understand what happens now and what you should be doing next. Before we get into that, I do want to stress that you should expect rejection in one way or another. Statistically speaking, not everyone is going to get into medical school, and even the people who do aren't accepted into every school that they apply to. Only around 40% of applicants each year actually matriculate into medical school, meaning more than half don't even get in. On top of that, if you look at the acceptance rates for each individual school, most of them are at or below 5%, which is insanely competitive when you think about it. Remember back in your high school days when you thought getting into Harvard College was impossible because they only admit like 5% of incoming high schoolers? Well, now you have to deal with that percentage with most schools you apply to, so please understand how difficult this really is. Also, if you remember from my gap year video, only about 30% of students that apply to medical school right after college actually get in. Don't be disheartened by rejection. I know it is disappointing, and we will talk about that. But just use these statistics to remember how difficult what you are doing actually is. The applicant that is able to be optimistic yet realistic will go a lot further in knowing how to grow and improve as an applicant. When you start to think about your rejection, why it happened, why me, what did I do wrong, I want you to try learning from whatever you reflect on. Go back to your original primary application. Was there anything there that stood out? Anything that you think you can improve on? What about anything that's missing? Was there a particular activity you didn't have a lot of or didn't have at all? Here's the thing. Learning from your experiences does not happen when your experiences come easy. All of these things on your application that you reflect on are challenging things that require a lot from you. But because they are difficult, there is so much room to learn and grow from them. Getting rejected sucks, and knowing what to do next can be tricky. But at the end of the day, it provides an opportunity for you to grow. Not only as an applicant for another try, but also as a person, which will benefit you no matter what area of life we are talking about. Try to stay positive as well. It's very easy to start thinking pessimistically because you weren't accepted where you wanted to go or anywhere at all. You need to understand that what you are attempting to do is nothing short of incredible, and you have to be extremely accomplished just to get this far. Don't compare yourself to other students that got in. Remember that you only have control over your own life, and the minute that you let others start to dictate how you think of yourself is the minute you start thinking pessimistically. And thinking pessimistically will hinder your attempt at reapplying when you try to study, retake the MCAT, or really do anything. Also, I want you to think about something for a minute. Out of all of the college-age students in the US, only about 0.35% end up successful and accomplished enough to even apply to medical school. Think of all the weed-out classes you made it through. Think about all the work you put in to apply. Think about all the hours and hours you studied to make good grades rather than going to parties or doing other things. You deserve to be here. Remember that. It's very easy to get down on yourself and compare yourself to others, but be fair to yourself. You are in a tiny fraction of the population, so it isn't fair to compare yourself to your friends who are doing other things with their lives and feel discouraged that you are falling behind. We all have a separate path in life, and realizing that might help you stay a little bit more positive when dealing with rejection. Okay, so you're trying to come to terms with what rejection means. What do you actually do now? Well, your next step is to reflect on your application, like I said earlier, and decide what areas you want to grow in. Find out where you felt your application was weak. These are just some ideas of things you can do for a given weakness, but it isn't limited to this at all. For instance, if you notice that you didn't really receive many interviews, then the problem was probably either in your application or personal statement. While if you did receive a good amount of interviews but weren't accepted anywhere, then your focus needs to be on improving your interviewing skills, since you probably had a pretty strong application to even get an interview. When you think about your own application and what happened, try to be realistic and decide on what parts of it could have been better. What could you have done differently? And how can you improve upon that for next time? Adaptability is important in every aspect of life, but especially for pre-med students. You will be met with uncertainty during this hard time of handling rejection, but having the ability to bounce back using what you reflected on shows an enormous amount of growth. Set clear goals for yourself and understand that the path to get where you want to go may be different than how you envisioned it. I can promise you that most doctors do not get to where they are the exact way they wanted to at first. But if you ask each and every one of them, they will tell you they made it that far the way that they were meant to. Each setback makes you a stronger person and a stronger applicant because you can learn, you can reflect, and you can adapt. And as you decide on what to do next, let's talk about some of the pros and cons of reapplying. First and foremost, since you just went through the entire thing, you already know how everything works, so you shouldn't have to put as much time and effort into every little thing. However, that doesn't mean it won't be time-consuming. Going through the MCAT, primary, and secondary applications, interview process, it all takes up a huge amount of time. And if you want to pursue something like that again, you will have to make sure to give yourself enough time and flexibility. Even so, like I've said this entire video, going through it once has given you a unique opportunity to grow from it and show that on your application. Yes, going through it all won't be fun, but you actually have a better chance at getting in the second time around, assuming that you can show these schools just how you've grown from your first try. That being said, there are obviously other factors you need to consider, like realistically if you are going to be able to handle all of the costs of applying again, or if you think your brain can handle all the crazy emotions that came with it. These obviously aren't all of the pros and cons. You can probably come up with about a dozen. But what I will say is just remember all of the effort and time you put into apply the first time. Is it really worth it to let all of that go to waste for you to give up here? Yes, you may not have gotten in the first time around. So what? Lots of students don't, which means most of the people schools are admitting are the ones that have failed before and tried again. As you weigh the pros and cons, just think about all you've sacrificed to make it this far and let that drive your passion to want to try again. And if you've decided to try again, the best way to do it is with a thorough plan of action. You will need to show on your next attempt how you have grown as an applicant directly from your first application. Go back to the slide on next steps and find an area of your application you can directly improve. The theme of this whole video has been to use a setback as a learning experience, and that should absolutely be a focus of yours. It might even create a new story for you to tell during your interviews. Knowing ahead of time what to focus on and where to put your efforts will undoubtedly give you the best chance as a reapplicant to get into medical school. Finally, I'll leave you by just encouraging you to keep on fighting. What you are doing is not only unique, but incredibly difficult. You've taken a path not many can take, but since you've put in all the effort to get this far, you might as well try to strive for the finish line no matter how many setbacks you are given.